From the 1011 Now Alert Center, this is Morning Pulse.
Good morning. This is Craig Allison with your Morning Pulse for Friday, March 27th. Before we get into our stories for you this morning, we'll give you our question of the day. Question is, about 30% of people say if you do this in their car, they're not going to be too happy about it. What is it? Answer is put your feet up on the dashboard. This is definitely something I've seen people pretty split about. People either relaxed about it or just very antagonistic about it. So definitely be on the lookout if you're riding shotgun in your future. But that being said, if you want to participate in our question of the day, be sure to put your guesses as well on our 1011 Facebook page. We read off guesses and the answer on 1011 this morning. But that being said, let's get into our top 6 stories for you this morning, starting off with national news from breaking overnight. The Senate approved a measure to fund most of the Department of Homeland Security, giving into the Democrats' key demand to keep ICE separate. Measure moves the nation a step closer to ending the partial government shutdown and getting TSA workers paid as travelers face hours-long wait times. Comes hours after President Trump said he was directing his new Secretary of Homeland Security, Mark Wayne Mullen, to pay the thousands of TSA workers who have gone over a month without a check. They're set to miss another today. Democratic leaders questioned what took the president so long. The Senate bill now moves over to the House, and the Senate adjourned for its 2-week recess overnight after approving the DHS funding measure. So, again, that being said, still expect to see TSA wait lines continue to be slow and slogging through this morning, especially for those of Husker Nation that might be traveling back from Houston. This is definitely going to be one story that we're going to keep our eyes on, so be sure to stick with us at 1011 Now as we continue to follow this developing story. Your second story, unfortunately, we knew this was coming for us this morning with our news coverage. Our storybook season has ended in heartbreak. Just a really tough loss from last night. The Huskers are out of the tournament after dropping their Sweet 16 matchup to rival Iowa. This has been a historic season for the Nebraska men's basketball team, marking the team's first ever March Madness wins and a record number of wins in the regular season. Nebraska led 46-43 at halftime, looked very hopeful. All of Husker Nation very excited at half, but Iowa battled back in the second half, taking the lead late and closing on a strong run to seal the win. Price Sanford scored a game-high 25 points, but it wasn't enough as Iowa hit key shots down the stretch to punch its ticket to the Elite Eight. Huskers now end their best season in program history with a 28-7 final record.
Obviously, it's the end of our season, so there's going to be some heartbreak for sure, especially with that game, and it really felt like we should have won that.
You know, these guys will be a part of history of Nebraska basketball forever for winning the first NCAA tournament game, getting to the Sweet 16, most wins in the history of the program, highest ranking. They just did so many things to elevate our program.
More than 10,000 fans piled into the Toyota Center last night, and our 1011 team in Houston says Nebraska fans far outnumbered Iowa fans. Though many were left stunned, some even in tears by the end, last night's game was a perfect reminder that Husker Nation remains strong in spirit and travels incredibly well. Probably any other school, I'd like to see any other school travel as well as Husker Nation does. The Reds certainly turned out for the match. The third story for you this morning, 2 more wildfires have sparked in western Nebraska, this time in Grant County. And we first brought you the beginnings of these yesterday morning on 1011 this morning, as well as Morning Pulse's episode from yesterday. But that being said, the Ashby and Minor fires burned parallel to each other and forced evacuations in Ashby and Hyannis. Those orders have since been lifted. Authorities say the Ashby fire spread quickly through toward the south, burning close to areas charred by the historic Morrill wildfire. At last update, the Ashby fire has scorched more than 34,000 acres. Meanwhile, the Minor fire south of Hyannis burned at least 15,000 acres. One Grant County resident tells us they had little time to react as flames moved in and forced evacuations.
We got a call from my daughter who lives on a ranch west of us, and she said, "Mom, I can see a big glow in the sky, and I'm worried about you guys." So we got up and got dressed, and then shortly after that, Hyannis Fire and Rescue knocked on the door and said, we're evacuating. So I got my marriage license and my dog, and we left.
It's a sad and unfortunate but tough reminder that fire season is still in effect. So this is one thing that we just need to constantly pay attention to across the state. In a Facebook post, Governor Jim Pillen says he is ordering state assets to the area to support local firefighters. Citywide burn ban was also extended to April 10th. In a Facebook post, that being said, we're going to continue to follow this story as well. This is something that spread quite fast in the morning when we first found out about it. So again, just continue to listen to those alerts about burn bans, those extensions, and just what to do to keep yourself safe during this especially dry season. And while we can hope for rain, it's best to stay safe in these tough times. Your fourth story for you this morning and happening today, a former Norris School bus driver will learn her sentence after admitting to driving students while drunk. 68-year-old Betty Johnson pled no contest to misdemeanor DUI, reckless driving, and child abuse charges. Authorities say that she drove multiple bus routes with dozens of students before being stopped and later testing nearly three times the legal limit. She faces up to 1 year and 5 months behind bars, and her sentencing is at 10:30 a.m. this morning. So be sure to stick with us at 10:11 now as we follow that. Your fifth story, Matt Talbot spent last night's Nebraska basketball game fundraising for the homeless and others in need while hosting March Madness watch party. Their 20th annual Chef Showdown fundraiser, 4 chefs from around Lincoln competed to create the best dish. Those in attendance got to watch the game and vote on their favorite foods. Former Husker basketball player and current Matt Talbot kitchen manager was at the event, and he was one of the first to play for the Huskers in the NCAA tournament back in 1986. Pretty neat stuff, and amid an increase in homelessness and rising food prices over the past few years, Matt Talbot says it's getting harder to provide meals to the community each day. That's why last night they launched a $2.5 million campaign to ensure their programs can stay up and running. We've got more details on this on our website at 1011now.com. We've had a lot of sad news this morning, but we need to look forward, try to look on the brighter side. Matt Rule, he was in Houston last night supporting the basketball team, but just yesterday morning, he was here in Lincoln getting Nebraska ready for their red-white scrimmage. That's this weekend. The attention hasn't been on the football team this spring, but in turn, this has actually helped them improve.
The most important thing, is just the work, right? So I think I said a week or so ago, it's just it's been a quiet spring for us, and I think that's good. I think anytime as a football player, you're focused inward and, just kind of on the guy next to you lined up as opposed to everything else.
Spring game kickoff is set for 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. Rule says it will be a traditional spring game format with quarters and 2 teams. Game will be broadcasted on the Big Ten Network. So let's turn our attention. Let's try to pick up ourselves this weekend, maybe support our other Huskers that are off and getting ready for a new season. That being said, that's going to do it for your Morning Pulse this Friday morning. And before we wrap things up, here's a look at your 7-day forecast. Going to be cooler and windy, but we'll have more with Jessica Blum right here.
Good morning, everyone. Meteorologist Jessica Blum here in the Severe Weather Center to talk about your cooler Friday forecast. High temperatures are only going to be in the lower and middle 50s, with at times a bit breezy of a north wind, gusting around 20 to 30 miles per hour. It will be mainly sunny, but a chilly sunshine for this time of the year. There's your hour-by-hour wind forecast, with gusts again peaking maybe around 30 miles per hour for much of the late morning and afternoon time frame, which is going to prompt a red flag warning to be in effect for much of the afternoon evening this Friday in eastern Nebraska. But then more of the state, due to a south wind picking up tomorrow, will be under a fire weather watch that will likely turn into a red flag warning. We've just been so dry and we're almost seeing these daily fire weather warnings, and we're certainly going to see that in the next couple of days continue. But we'll be on a warming trend this weekend. The spring game looks seasonally chilly, but we will warm closer to 80 degrees by Sunday.
From the 1011 Now Alert Center, this is Morning Pulse.